Well, we'll begin. This next session we'll talk about a career that is very definitely a career. We've got Constables Clayton and Tanya from the Edmonton Police Service.
Thanks. We'll try to keep this as informal as possible. Usually we have kind of a PowerPoint presentation to just to show you, but we'll go over some of the aspects of what you need to do to kind of start. If you're thinking of a career in policing, some of the things you might want to start doing now in preparation for that. What it takes once you've decided to become a police officer and to actually formally put in your application. And then we'll touch on some of the aspects of what to expect once you've already become a police officer, and the career and different paths that you might want to go down.
So yeah, Edmonton Police is steadily hiring. We have a lot of members that are retiring, so over the next few years, at least 2 to 3 classes per year. And that's generally 30 to 40 people per class. So even though it might be a few years off for you, it's something to start looking at. So things that we kind of recommend are obviously good morals, integrity, good ethics. And a big part of our training is the physical aspect. So obviously eating healthy, working out regularly. We have to do, every year we have to go through physical and firearms testing. So just to stay on top of your physical aspect and be in shape.
Fitness is something that you can control, and staying physically fit. It's a physically demanding job with shift work. So eating healthy, eating well, doing a kind of a minimum amount of physical activity. Once you've decided that this is something that I want to do as a career, you've already have that check marked off, and then you can kind of focus on some of the other aspects once you want to apply. Okay. So some of the other things that you might want to do, even 16, 17, 18 years old, you can start volunteering. Lots of our applicants have volunteered, whether that be with kind of Big Brothers programs where it really gets you involved with your community, or any other sort of volunteer programs that are out there.
Yeah, and if you are 18, you can volunteer at the stations in the city, but you definitely don't have to be volunteering through police services. So yeah, if you're into hockey, coaching, football, whatever it is that you want to volunteer, just kind of getting out there and being part of your community shows a lot. So we'll just go through the very basic qualifications, and we do have some pamphlets out there, but these are the very basics that you need, so high school diploma or equivalent. And we already spoke about good moral characters, health and physical conditions. So health, we have an eyesight test, and hearing is kind of the basics. And then you have to be able to meet the standards, so Class 5 driver's license, Canadian citizen, and obviously no criminal record, and if you happen to do, it has to be cleared. You have to get a pardon for that. And standard first aid as well.
So if you're thinking that policing is something that interests you, we've always suggested 18 years old. We hire people who are 18, 19 years old on occasion. Typically the people that are hired are in their early 20s, and lots of those people, we have a vast array of people with different backgrounds, whether they're have had a career, they've gone 10 years in that career, have to people with university degrees. So if you're looking, we suggest 2 years of post-secondary education, and anything above and beyond that, you're rated on kind of a points system as a part of your application. So it's a competitive process. So you're competing against everybody else who puts in their application. So for instance, our next class is going in February. There's 30 spots. There might be 50 suitable applicants for those spots, but now we have to choose 30 spots. So how do we do that? Well, we do that by looking into all aspects of their life, their lifestyle, and certain areas are kind of based on a point system. So education, work experience, your interviewing skills. You go through a couple different interviews during the selection process. So those things are rated, and if you're competitive and you meet some of those criteria, then you'll be offered a position.
Yeah, and for the actual application process, one of the things you have to do is fill out a behavioral or a personal disclosure, and that's 130 questions. So just start thinking now about what kind of questions you can go online at joineps.ca and look at those questions. So it goes from things you've done, have you ever stolen, there's 130 you can go on there, and it's just start thinking about now the choices you make. We want people that obviously have integrity and have made the right choices in life. So it's a good idea if this is something that you're thinking about, maybe go and look and see the kind of areas that we're looking at for the type of lifestyle that you have to lead prior to getting into policing.
Now we understand that everybody's not perfect, right? And so we're looking for people that have made mistakes. They've taken responsibility for those mistakes, and they can say, you know what, I've made this mistake, I've learned from it. This is what I've done since I've made certain choices and kind of gone on and bettered themselves. Maybe we'll touch a little bit on what to expect once you're a police officer. We all start off in patrol, so we're the ones out there driving the patrol car, and we're kind of the jack of all trades. We might 1 minute be going to investigate some break and enter, or we could be going into something more exciting in progress, assault or people vandalizing something. So you never know, kind of every day is a different. You get lots of opportunity to interact with people and to kind of see what you're all about.
Yeah, I guess as a police officer, you kind of take on a lot of roles, really. Like sometimes we're talking to little kids, other times we're talking to families that have been in a big fight. And I guess the biggest thing is just having life experience. If you're 18 and you really haven't been out there volunteering or in your community, if you're the one going into a call where there's big family fight, you have to figure that out. It might just be you and your partner. So just kind of having been out there and living life and getting life experience, whether it be working, volunteering, schooling, like that's what you need to do. Like, yeah, you're a social worker, you're a teacher, kind of a jack of all trades, like Clayton had said. So it's an interesting job, challenging, and it's kind of like they say, it's a different day every day. So.
Does anybody have any specific questions that we might be able to answer for you?
You mentioned about a high school diploma, and then you also mentioned that many applicants will have had post-secondary education. Obviously, because we're homeschoolers, it's in many cases tough to have a full high school diploma. If they go on to 2-year or 3-year or even a degree program and have that, is that requirement for a high school diploma sort of you've met it because you've gone off and gotten secondary, post-secondary education?
Yeah, that's correct. So the minimum standard is the grade 12 or equivalent. So high school diploma or equivalent. So if you have anything above and beyond that, that's right. If you have the 2-year diploma program or a degree, then that would meet that threshold.
Thomas, in our online participation, would like to know an idea of pay scale and what he could expect starting or going on from there.
Yeah, we start at 59,000, and that's the base salary. So you get paid that during training. The training's about 5.5 months. So the entire training, that's your wage. And it goes up roughly 5,000 a year. So at 5 years, you're making 83. And that's just the base pay. So if we work a stat holiday, you're getting triple time. If you have day off court, whether you're there for 10 minutes or 5 hours, you're getting paid for 8 hours. If you work night shift, you get extra pay during the night. So it can add up. So base pay is 59.
Tanya, are there any advantages to being a woman in the police force?
Yeah, there's certain calls where I think that maybe women maybe use, instead of the physical aspect of it, they might talk a little, be able to talk somebody down, or certain calls you go to where they don't want to deal with a woman, they want to deal with the man, or vice versa. So whether it be dealing with the female at a family fight or a child, I think they need the blend of boys, girls, just, yeah, each call is different, so.
We heard what to me was surprising from a fire captain this morning, that you have to be very intentional about where you decide to want to be a fireman in this country, because you cannot move laterally unless you start at the very bottom of the ladder, even if you've got 25 years in. Is that similar for Edmonton Police Force? If you decide you want to move your family to Victoria or something like that, are you starting at ground zero again?
Yes, it's very similar. So Edmonton's municipal police agency, much like Calgary, much like Camrose, Lethbridge, all municipal police agencies. So if you get hired on in Edmonton, you're going to be working in Edmonton. So there's that knowing that you're not going to get moved. If something comes up where maybe you want to move to a different city and you want to continue being a police officer, so you'll have to apply to that, whether it's a municipal police agency or maybe you want to move over to the RCMP. Your seniority, so to speak, will you'll start back at the bottom. Many police agencies will recognize your experience. So for example, in Edmonton, if you have 5 years in Edmonton and you want to move to Calgary, they'll start you off. You won't start off at a 1-year police constable wage. They'll recognize your 5 years, and you'll be paid as a 5-year constable there. Your pension would also be transferred to the. It's in the same. It's all in the same bubble. So your pension won't be affected if you stay within Alberta.
Question from one of our online participants. Your families.
Personally, it is quite a. You have to be able to have that balance. Like many other jobs, policing, you have a certain amount of stress, and how you deal with that stress is going to affect your families. So there's many jobs out there that you have a stressful. There's expectations with police. That's just. It is compounded very much because you are in the public eye that much more. All your decisions will be scrutinized. So you do have to be able to deal and cope with that, and not take that with you back home. I don't know how much you can comment on.
Yeah, the other thing is we do work 4 on and 4 off. So I have 2 little kids, so on my days off I can go help at the school or at hockey or whatever. So I guess working Monday to Friday, you might not get the 4 days off. So yeah, it can be tough on family, but yet good at the same time, right? So.
And one more question. From a young man who's not a particularly strong reader, and he says, I understand that police officers have to do a lot of paperwork, which makes him a little nervous. How much paperwork do you do? And is that a major part of your job?
Yeah, paperwork's a huge part. Everything's, you have to document pretty much 90% of any calls that you go to. So whether that be a large report where you have to articulate many details, or something smaller that you just have to document that you've been there and this is kind of what you did. I would say that we work 11-hour shifts, and primarily I would say 5 to 6 hours of your shift. A good 50% of it could be report writing.
Thank you.
Any other questions? If we don't have too many other questions from other people, maybe we can start asking you guys some questions here.
We have one more online question, and that
Okay.
is it mandatory to shift change daytime hours, night hours, week to week?
It's mandatory, so everybody works the same shift schedule. We work 11-hour shifts. We have 4 different start times. So two of the shifts are during the daytime and evening hours, and then our other 2 shifts are during the evening and overnight. So we kind of rotate through that, and everybody has to work shift work. It's kind of the start of your policing career.
Yeah, and then after you've got roughly 5 to 6 years on, then you can specialize, and that's when you go into areas such. So everybody starts in patrol, and then you would go into areas such as ident, dealing with mental health, people like specialized units down the road if you're promoted homicide, robbery units. So yeah, you definitely have to start in the shift work, and some of those other units are daytime, but obviously like homicide detective is going to be coming out in the night too, so it's just part of the job in general.
Sure. So if anybody can answer how many divisions we have in the city of Edmonton, so police divisions, and what are they? I heard somebody say something. Anybody can take a stab at the different police divisions? I'll give you. Yeah. Well, the geographical areas. So your division. So say I work in West Division. Go ahead. 10. Half of that. Yes. 5. Exactly. And can you name a couple? West? That's a good one. Yeah. Or do you want a water bottle or a t-shirt? Water bottle, okay.
And then we're actually celebrating women in policing this year. So does anybody know how many years women have been in Edmonton as police officers?
It was in the news. Yes? 30? Nope, more than 30. More than that. No. More than that.
Yeah. 100 years.
And the last question, can anybody name, we're a paramilitary organization, so that means we have a different rank structure. Can anybody name three different ranks?
We're not the fire department, but
Would there be a private or is it just be a top?
No, so captain, that's, fire department uses captains, and private's military. Yeah. Anybody else want to try? Yeah, go ahead.
Officer, constable, inspector?
Pretty close. Not exactly. An officer will be a white shirt, So the guys that wear white shirts are an officer. Other than that, no, pretty close, yeah. Well, we'll give it to you. We'll give it to you. Yeah. So we all start off as constables. You're sworn in as a constable. The next level up, you can get promoted to as a sergeant. And a sergeant is usually in charge of, a sergeant and a detective are the same rank. Detective usually is in charge of investigating they do investigations, whereas a sergeant is in charge, is more of a supervisory role. And then after that, the next promotion up is a staff sergeant. Staff sergeant starts to get into the administrative type roles. Once you are promoted after staff sergeant, has anybody seen on the news probably the guys that wear white shirts? Yeah, so those are the officers. So there's inspector, superintendent, deputy chief. So we have, I think, 4 deputy chiefs in Edmonton, and then of course the chief.
We have one question here.
2 actually. So could each of you just share the one thing that you like the best and the one thing that you hate the most about being a police officer?
Well, I hate the most is kind of easy for me. And getting older, it's definitely shift work. It's when I was younger and didn't have any responsibilities or any a family to worry about. It was a lot easier as kind of get on with things. It's tougher for you to adjust back and forth. I like the most is probably the learning. Like every day I go into work, I learn something new. There's so many roles and different jobs within the police service that I can always better myself and do something different.
Yeah, I guess for me, what I like is the variety. Like if you're in patrol, you're out, you're taking different calls. It's not the same thing every day. You're not stuck in an office. And yeah, it's always challenging. There's different areas you can go into. We're taking courses. We're always having to stay on top of our training. I guess kind of the downside would be court. You've worked night shift and then you have to go the odd time to court when you're really tired, and then you get there and it's either doesn't go to trial or it gets dropped, and there's a lot of work that goes into it. So it's kind of frustrating, but it's part of the job, and no, it's overall a really good job.
I think Clayton's really nervy calling himself old.
You're getting older.
I just want to move this so I can see you. I think I'd be remiss just to sit there and not say anything, because my son right now is training with the Edmonton Police Service. And he was homeschooled fully till the end of grade 12. And he worked for, I think just half a year. And then he decided he was going to go to Lethbridge College to take their criminal justice program. So he took 3 semesters there, and he was getting kind of bored. So rather than go back for the 4th to finish, he thought, I'm just going to apply with Edmonton. So he did, and they snapped him up. And he's just 20 years old. He's just about finished the training program. He's into the 5th month of it right now. And I have to say, I had heard that Edmonton training was the best in Canada, and I can't compare, but the training is incredible. And you do want to be as very fit as you possibly can be to when you start, because it's very hard. It's grueling. He's 6'3" and he's strong, and it's tough. And my hat's off to the women who can get through that too, because I don't think I could do it. I just think that we certainly have to just give all of these people over to God to protect them. And I just thank you, because this is a very noble profession. You are working hard on the behalf of the people. And thank you for doing this work for us.
Thank you, Tanya and Clayton. Thank you very much. Oh, goodness.
Probably going to be a question we can't answer now.
I have a son who's interested in doing investigation, like how the fire started, or at the crime scene, like what the evidence was and all that. So is that through Edmonton Police Services, or is that like a whole separate entity that would do the investigation part of the crime? Do you understand my question?
I think so. Like specifically arson, or
Well, let's say it was arson, and they wanted to figure out what caused the fire, or whatever.
Like-
Would that be an Edmonton
like
City
CSI, like the crime scenes, kind of collecting evidence.
Like
that sort of thing?
the forensic
Yeah,
part of it.
the
like-
forensic issue. So, in Canada, all forensic officers, like all those TV shows you see with CSI and all that, all those are sworn police officers in Canada. And in the U.S., there's lots of civilians that are hired to do certain aspects of that job. But currently in Canada, they're all sworn police officers. So you can start in that area as early as 3 to 5 years. Like I said before, everybody starts in patrol, and then you can specialize in other areas. So we call it ident unit, and so you'll have to, once you become a police officer, you'll have to then apply to those areas. And there's an application process, whether it be tests or interviews, and then once you're accepted, then there's some training. And in particular in ident, there's a 2-month training program in Ottawa at the Canadian Police College in Ottawa. And then they go over a lot of the bread and butter for ident is photography and fingerprints. And then they can kind of specialize in all the other forensic ways of gathering evidence at crime scenes.
Thank you.
And thank you again. Who is going to talk about a program that he got into in power engineering, and take it away.
Hi everybody. First of all, I'm sorry, I'm very nervous, so bear with me through this. My name's Scott Meakes. I'm the son of Mark Meakes, who's one of the facilitators at Wisdom Homeschooling. And I'm not sure how he talked me into this, but he did. I'm taking a course right now in power engineering. So I'll give you a little bit of background on me, talk about the course, talk about the career opportunities, and then we'll be done. So I finished high school through homeschooling. After I was done, I just went right into working. You know, Alberta's a really good place to find. I was mainly into labor jobs, and you can make a lot of money doing that, but really got tired of the cyclical way that those jobs are. You know, you make good money one month, but then the next month comes along and you're out of work and you don't have any. So I really wanted to move into something a lot more stable, if not even paying as well. So I started looking into post-secondary institutions, and I liked the power engineering program that was offered from some schools. I applied to a few colleges, just to give you an idea about what it was like to get in, being a homeschooler. I applied to a few different colleges. Some of them straight up said, you just need transcripts, you know, we can't do anything else with you. Probably would have taken about a year for me to do the upgrading to get up to that level. But I was able to get into Lakeland College in Lloydminster. They were the only one that I found that offered entrance exams that you could write. So that was a really attractive option for me because I could start the school year that year. So the program they offer there at Lakeland College, well, I should start with power engineering. Goes from classes of 5 to 1, and it's a government ticket that you get through the Alberta government. The line of work is operating plants that you would, and of course in Alberta that has a lot to do with the oil industry as well. It's either a 1 or 2 year program that they offer. Their 1 year, you get your 4th class ticket. The 2 year program, you come out of there with your 3rd class ticket. They offer a practicum, so because it is a trade, you do need to get hours as you go through. You need a certain amount of hours. They offer some at the school with the lab that they have, but then you have to go out into industry and get some there. So they will set you up with a company that you can go to, and this was a really good experience. I was able to go up to Cold Lake to a SAGD facility up there, working for Husky, and learned a lot, and some of the practicums are actually even paid, which is pretty sweet. I mean, as a student, right, you can get some money out of it too. The course offers also all your safety tickets as well, so that's also as good. The cost to this program it runs about $8,500 that's tuition and books. You also have to find your own place to live. They do have dorms as well. There's about $500 a month. The nice thing about the course is they're offering a lot of scholarships now. Companies want to tie down these power engineers before they leave school. So I know the 5 people out of my class actually got a $21,000 scholarship from Husky. The only catch was you'd have to go work for them for 2 years after school, but that's not a bad catch because they're offering you full-time work, paid work for 2 years, plus paying for all your school expenses as well. So there's some students that were really happy to get that. So that's the course. Power engineering, I know I didn't know much about it when I first looked into it, but it really is a lot to do with operating plants. But operating plants has got a wide application. I mean, you can be anywhere from pulp and paper mills, SAGD facilities up north, power facilities, power generation facilities. Also, if you want to stay kind of out of industrial industry, you can be, they need 4th class power engineers for big buildings, anything with a boiler, heating systems, and also refrigeration systems as well. So, I mean, down at Rexall Place there for their ice, they use a big refrigeration system, and that requires a ticketed power engineer. You do have to remember that all these jobs are shift work, and so you will be working nights as well. So I know that's not a very attractive option for a lot of people. But the good thing is starting wages. In Alberta, this is a really, really sought after trade. They're really hurting for people. If you want to work in the oil industry, base wage anywhere, Lloydminster or northern area is going to be about $80,000 a year. Plus you have bonus on top of that. And that's where you start. As you accumulate more tickets and more experience, most engineers are over the $100,000 mark in what they make per year. Just giving you an idea of what's needed out there for power engineers. Synovus, they run 2 SAGD facilities up north. They're going to be looking for over 500 new power engineers. That's not including people who are quitting. That's not including people who are retiring. It's brand new positions, high-paid positions that they're going to need over the next 5 years. And that's just one company. And all the companies are like that. They're actually, that's the reason they're going to these schools and offering scholarships so they can tie people down, because they're really worried about if they're going to have enough people to run these plants. They definitely, the plants, I don't want to make it sound too boring because I know everybody's opinion might be the Homer Simpson, sitting at the control desk eating a donut and you just sit there and let it run by itself. There actually is a wide variety of work that you do inside these plants. Everything from a lot of mechanical, you have to be mechanically inept, a lot of adept, that's the one. Told you I was nervous. Adept, yes. They go through, there's a lot of chemistry as well within the process, of course, if you're on the oil side of things. So you work with exchangers, with boilers. Your ticket's good for across Canada, and I know there's a lot of places you can go overseas that really are looking for the experience that we bring from our colleges as power engineers here in Canada. There's a lot of people go and work over in China. A lot of people go work over places like Saudi Arabia, stuff like that. There's a lot of massive refineries, and I even knew a guy that went and worked at an airport because they also had boilers of certain size, so they need it as well. And the opportunities really in the field are excellent. You can, of course, progress your way up through the tickets. If you start as a 3rd class operator, you're going to be out in the plant. You move up to a 2nd class, you're probably going to be on a panel, a lot of computers running the plant. You go up to a 1st class, you're going to be kind of the head honcho guy and making the big bucks. That also gets you out of shift work as well. And outside of that, I know quite a few engineers that once you have enough experience, you can actually move down to Calgary into a head office role. You can be, if an office job is more your style, you can definitely be into plant planning. They're always building new plants like this. And like I said, overseas is huge. There's definitely a lot of people. So I don't know if that was really fast or really short, but I'll take any questions. I don't know if anybody has. So, yeah, that'd be great.
Hi, I work for TransAlta, and I'd just like to say it's unbelievable how hard TransAlta goes after these guys. They're down at SAIT all the time, offering money to the fourth-year guys, saying, or the third-year guys, saying, come up, we guarantee you a job, we'll pay for you to move to the area. The opportunities are unlimited, really. It's an amazing
Absolutely.
career.
Yeah, and it's not only the money, but a lot of these companies really take really good, and they'll fly you up to work at their plants. And yeah, of course, the monetary benefit is huge, but really the way they take care of you, the time off you get is really amazing. Thanks for the question. Yeah. Also, the shift work can be a good thing as well. I know a lot of places do a 7-on, 7-off. I mean, you're only working half the year, really, which is quite nice as well. So you get a lot of time off that way. Yeah.
Hey, Scott.
Hey, Dad.
Can you share your entrance into the college? You know, kind of step by step? Because I think that would be encouraging to...
Or at least talk about your cousin.
Yes, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first step, I guess, is contacting the college. They get your name on a list. They have classes, class sizes of about 40 individuals, and then of course they run the 2-year program, so 40 in each year. First step that I had getting in was just being in contact with them. You go in for an interview. They take students based on, of course, the interview, but also your academic standing as well. I didn't, obviously, as being a homeschool, I didn't have homeschool transcripts, so they were really good with offering me entrance exams to get in the college. It was quite smooth. I went down for a day to Lloydminster, just sat in a room for probably about 4 hours, just writing exams. They didn't seem too hard, and yeah, they said that was good. And I also know there was a lot of students from the class as well that they took a year before they started the course. And actually, I probably would have done this if I had decided to do it earlier. And they did that upgrading, which you can do as online courses or go into college as well. And it does really prepare you for what's coming up. Yeah, I guess I didn't talk about that too much. The program is really heavy into math and science. That's, of course, the very fundamental is a big one. So you want to be strong in that area because there was a lot of students that were really struggling with that. So yeah, I don't know if I answered your question.
And didn't your cousin come in with an Alberta diploma and he had trouble?
Yes, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I had a cousin in Saskatchewan. He had high school transcripts from Saskatchewan, and they didn't. He wasn't accepted. He had actually was the same steps that I would have had to do to get into the program because he was just under that limit for his grade. So he would have had to take an entire year of upgrading as well. So yeah.
Question from online: what is power engineering? What do you do?
It's power engineering. It's pretty broad. I guess the general term would be an operator. So if you think of people. If you think of the guys who has, they're at a plant somewhere producing electricity through boilers, working with steam, and that's how we're getting our power in this building right now, is there is somebody somewhere working a 12-hour shift so that we can have power here right now. But it's much more broad than just the power generation side of things, especially in Alberta, because anywhere, I guess I should start with this. Anywhere that you have a boiler of a certain size, the government requires you to have a ticket. They call it a power engineering ticket to work with that boiler. Just, I guess, because of the dangers that you can have with these massive boilers. There's quite a bit of risk involved with working with them. They're very safe with the safety features that they have set up, but you need skilled people to run them. So power engineering, any type of boilers you're going to be working with in any industry, you're going to have a power engineering ticket. Which, like I said, pulp and paper is a big one as well. They use a lot of that. Also, Of course, the oil sands is a huge one. But like I said, also if you don't want to work in an industrial setting, there's also building operators, people work at hospitals and that. So I don't know if that answered the question.
Thank you very much, Scott, for coming and giving us that whole 9 yards.
Walk like in front, because that is less blocking. Okay, yeah, like you said, my name is Nolan. I was also with Wisdom for like years and years back in the day when I was in homeschooling. I'm also have a college degree from PRBI. I went 4 years. I've got a Bachelor of Biblical Studies from there, and then I went back for a 4th year, so I've done 4 years there for basically an internship. Did a year there. I was doing some cool stuff. Okay, yeah, so PRBI. What we're concentrating on is building disciples. We're building disciples of Jesus Christ so that they go out and impact their world. That's a brief summary. And what I mean by building disciples is building into you both mentoring, there we go, both formally and informally. We have an awesome community at PRBI. We want to build into people. We want to show them, build into them character, and we also want to build into them how to go about life, how to be basically good at living life. And that's basically what I want to talk about right now. One thing that I've really noticed is that we have this concentration on occupation. And I'm not knocking occupation. I think it's great. I do plan on going for further schooling as well afterwards, in a few years here after I carry on. But we never concentrate on what is our vocation, how do we live life, right? I go to work and I work 40 hours a week, but when I come home, that's the more significant part of my week. How am I living while I'm at home and while I'm at other places? If I break it down, I'm at work less than a third of my time of my life. And so what I want to get across is, how am I living? How am I doing what I'm doing at work? How am I doing while I'm living outside of work? Because in reality, that's where the majority of our time is spent. So how are you living well is my question. Where is your character at? How are you building up into your character so that you can live well later on as well? And that's something else that we do at PRBI. We do try to build character into people, try to push people to further themselves in Jesus Christ and be able to say, I'm a more solid person. Like personally, this really applies in business. I've read a lot of business books. I've started my own business as well. And one thing that continually comes back to is if you are hired by somebody, they want to see, one, that you've done good work, and if you've done something shoddy, they want you to come and replace it. And so what it comes down to is, am I going to do that? Or even if it was made well, I do have an example. When I started a business when I was 18, this guy called me back, and there was a huge storm. There was like 100-kilometer winds. Some of his shingles that I'd put on blew off, and it was a manufacturing defect, not my fault. He wanted me to replace it. And so I could have said, no way, it's all good, and you can deal with it, but I was at school at this time, so I was like, I will pay for somebody to come in and fix this for you. So that's what I did. I paid for him. It really hurt my pocketbook, but now going back to him, I get work from him whenever I go back home. Just call him up. If he's got work, bam, I have it, right? What it comes down to is character. And so that's what we really want to concentrate on as well. So some of the things of how you discover character. Well, do you know yourself? What are you interested in? I'm not saying don't get a job. What I'm saying is sometimes you need some time to go figure out what you are wanting to do in life as well. When I was first thinking about Bible school, I wanted to do 2 things. I wanted to work on race cars, and I wanted to be a heavy-duty mechanic. And I was like, well, Bible school really doesn't play into that, so I'm not going to go. Anyways, I went to be at PRBI for 4 years. Now afterwards, I'm definitely more interested in interacting with people, more interested in stuff like they were saying. I'm more interested in a little bit about law as well, and also politics. Totally different, right? So where are my interests actually lying? They're more in that field, more in the white collar rather than the blue collar type of things. But I wouldn't have known that unless I would have been able to discover some of that stuff about myself. How am I doing for time?
You're 4 minutes into your talk.
Okay, I will be really short. Okay, so some of the things that PRBI does is we have field ed. This is you get credit for this. You go out, you help in the community. It's a lot of volunteering, whether it's youth groups, whether it's tour teams. We have this really cool one. We got prison ministry. You go away to different prisons on the weekends, and you go talk to and chill with the guys there. A lot of them have been in prison for 25 years. They don't know anything else, really. But you're able to talk to them, minister to them, get to know them, and build into these people as well. Really tough, but super awesome. I've did it for a while as well. One other thing that I really appreciate the firefighter before came in. At PRBI, we do have an awesome linking with our volunteer fire department. So if you come to PRBI for 3 years and you want to be a firefighter, a lot of the guys that have done that are now working in major cities. One guy who is in Calgary, he now trains the firefighters. He did a lot of his firefighting training at PRBI while he was going to school, getting Bible school. So that's something really cool that we offer. And, oh yes, homeschooling requirements. So one of the things that we require is either, obviously, a transcript. I was also homeschooled, so instead of sending in a transcript, just get your mom to make you up one, and then send in 2 papers, 2 or 3 pages long, and it doesn't have to be a research paper. It can just be an essay. If you're really into poetry, it can be a poem, something like that. We just need 2 papers of something to say that you are basically literate. So, yeah. I think I'll leave it at that, just for time's sake. Is there any questions on anything that I've said? Thank you.
Thank you, Nolan.